Hello, everyone. This is Gregory Madison once again, and this is the second part of my testimony that I was giving you on why I have a passion for presenting what the Bible has to say about addictions. And so I'll just recap very quickly where I was, where I started, and where I left off. I started by telling you how I started a relationship with Jesus Christ in 1981. And so for about the next 5 years, I gave him my everything. There was nothing that I held back from him. I allowed him to infiltrate every room in my life. I often like to think of our lives as a house, and we know that we're filled with the Spirit when we freely allow God to enter every room of that house. And so he was in complete control of my life for a good period of years. And then I began to drift away. Uh, so in late 1987, I had drifted so far that I began using crack cocaine. So, just to fast forward to where we left off, in 1996, I started writing about how to apply the Bible to addictions. And that's when I wrote my first draft of Turning to God from Idols. Uh, Around the year 2000, I also began to discover other writings concerning what the Bible has to say about addictions. Um, and uh, just to bring you up to date, um, in 2011, my love for Christ was restored through His Word, prayer, and fellowship with others. And I started right back where I was many, many years before, and just giving God everything. And so in 2012, I moved to Memphis from Cleveland, Ohio. And if you will go on my website, uh, www.turningtogodfromidols.com, you can read the story of how I wound up in Memphis. And it was at that time that I had a friend to give me uh, a computer, a monitor, and a printer. So what really blew me away was that when I moved into the apartment in Memphis, someone had left a computer console. And I said, well, I guess God is really at work. I was just thrilled over how He had put things together like that. And there were so many other things that I would see Him uh, just make arrangements for me. Even to this day, I can't even tell you the countless number of things. And I'm grateful for everyone. Sometimes I can uh, come in the house just before the rain starts pouring down. And I know that's God doing that for me. And even if it starts raining when I'm about to leave, He does that for a reason. So I'm thankful even then. But to go on, as I said, my friend gave me this computer and monitor and printer. And so I had a bunch of notes on my flash drives. Actually, I think I had some floppy disks back then. And I began to look into all my notes and write every morning uh, and during the day even. And so it was In 2015, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. I was speaking on 2012. So in 2015, I started publishing my notes on addictions on Facebook, uh, on addictions and the fear of God, which I'll mention to you later on. And I started different Facebook pages from those two topics. And that's mainly the two things that God has given me to write about. The remainder of my days is on how the Bible has the answers for addictions, mainly how addictions are idols, and the fear of the Lord, are actually related, or reverencing God, if you will. Some people don't like that phrase, the fear of the Lord. It is an accurate phrase, and perhaps we'll get a chance to talk about that sometime or another. If you look on some of my Facebook pages, I have pages on reverencing God, the fear of the Lord, and everything. And so during that time, 2012, 2012 on up until 2018, where I published my first book, I continued to build notes and find other resources um, that spoke about addictions from the Bible. And they weren't easy to find. They were not in existence too much. You couldn't find anything significant until around the late 90s. And see, this is where my passion comes from, mainly, because this was something that I yearned for in my early days of addiction. I was looking in libraries, I was going to bookstores, I was asking people everywhere for some resources specifically out of the Bible for addictions. And you can look for yourself, do a Google search. Now, you may find some things that are Bible related, but I've learned to distinguish the difference between quality material and mediocre. Some are more Christ centered than others. Some try to draw a person into dealing with their issues and never lead a person to becoming more Christ like. That's the major difference. And so I've adopted this attitude from Acts 20:20. And I like to mention how it gives us 2020 vision when it comes to addictions. In Acts 20:20, Paul was talking to the believers in Ephesus, and he was telling them about the attitude that he had with them. He was about to leave, but he told them that he wanted them to take note of how he kept back nothing that was profitable unto them. That's me. I don't want to hold back anything from anyone that would be profitable in dealing with addictions. And you can find all you need in the scriptures. It's right there. If you don't believe me, just stay with me. You read the things that I am reading, the things that God has led me to write, and you will find the answers right there if you want it. You may not find the answers that you like, but you will find the truth. And actually, that's a problem, a big problem today, where so many have itching ears. They don't really want to hear what God has to say concerning the issue. Be very careful when you read things that more or less are fleshly, they give you things that you want to hear all the time. And sometimes it may be hard to distinguish whether this is really coming from God or not. You have to grow in your maturity of the word. And in Hebrews chapter 5, it says, those that are of full age are able to distinguish both good and evil. Anyway, I'm getting off base. I wanted to share with you before I leave about how I'm about to begin a series even on what I call the fear factor. And it's all about how the fear of the Lord is related to abstaining from addictions. In fact, it's the greatest thing about the fear factor is the awe effect that it contains. And so we'll be taking a look at awe, AWE, a lot in the future also. One of the greatest things about that is the element of joy. And right now I'm reading a book by Jim Berg. I wish I had known about this book. I think it was published around, let's just say the late 90s. I think it's 99. Okay. And there's only one other book that I know that was published, a substantial book on addictions that was published around that time, and that was Ed Welch, Addictions, A Banquet in the Grave. If you haven't gotten a copy of that, then I would recommend it highly. I read it about 6 times myself. And so, as I was mentioning, the really great thing about this awe effect is the joy that is manufactured. Nothing can keep you from addictions like the joy of the Lord. And within this book, Changed into His Image, I just read this minutes ago from Jim Berg. He says, joy, a feeling of great pleasure and delight in God and who God is and what He has provided. And so that's a tremendous incentive, or that is a tremendous motivator for us to turn from addictions. And as I said, the fear of the Lord makes a great difference in the way that we deal with addictions. It makes all the difference in the world. You can even look at my Facebook pages, as I said, on the fear of the Lord. There's one page that I have called References of Reverence, which contains a lot of notes and even sermons on reverencing God. And as I begin this series on the fear factor concerning addictions, you will find that on my Facebook page, Bible versus Addictions, as well as some other YouTube videos that I will be making. So anyway, our time is about over right now. God bless you all. Thank you for watching. Just made